Top 5 most common nutrition mistakes that Jiu-Jitsu practitioners make. My name is Kieran and I'm an ISSN recognized sports nutrition specialist and a Jiu-Jitsu practitioner myself. Number 1, not eating enough calories. I find that a lot of Jiu-Jitsu practitioners are, funnily enough, not eating enough calories. Now this is understandable when you consider the high energy demands imposed on you when you train Jiu-Jitsu. Now this isn't across the board. I mean, some of you out there are eating too many calories. However, to determine whether you are eating enough calories, have a look at the common symptoms involved with not eating enough calories. They are low energy levels throughout the day, crashing or bonking during your training sessions, feeling tired and lethargic, and experiencing lack of quality sleep. To determine a baseline of how many calories you should actually be consuming, have a look at your TDEE. That is your total daily energy expenditure. If you're not new to the channel and you've seen some of my nutrition videos before, you would have heard me speak about your TDEE. For those that aren't in the know and want to learn how to calculate that number, then check out the video I made called the Jiu-Jitsu Ultimate Nutrition Guide. I'll put a link to that video in the description of this video and on the screen now for you to check it out. The second most common mistake I see is focusing too much on the small stuff like meal timing and how many meals you should be eating per day. Nutrient timing and the amount of meals that you're consuming throughout the day for athletic performance is really just a 1% gains sort of conversation. Focus on the big ticket items. Focus on eating enough calories and focus on improving the quality of food that you're eating rather than just when. Because it doesn't matter if you're eating at the right time if you're not eating the right type of food. Mistake number 3 is over-reliance on protein powders. Now, I'm not saying that protein powders are bad per se. However, similarly to point number 2, focus on the big ticket items first. Focus on having a strong foundation of nutrition before supplementing with things like protein powders, because it's in the name. It's meant to be supplementary to your food, not the other way around. Another reason that this can be a mistake is if you're smashing 3 to 4 protein powders per day and maybe you decided to buy a bulking protein, that's gonna be a lot of calories with a shitload of fillers, sugars, and other artificial crap in your diet, which may not necessarily be a good thing. So first and foremost, I highly recommend that you get your main source of protein from your food, and then once you've done that, if required, you can supplement with protein powders. Mistake number 4 is showing up to Jiu-Jitsu dehydrated. Now this one is probably more common than you'd realize, and you've probably done it once or twice yourself, because I know I certainly have. When you're dehydrated training Jiu-Jitsu, this will affect your decision-making capability. Obviously, it will affect your performance. It will put more stress on your heart, and in severe cases, it can cause cramping or even long-term impacts on your health. So avoiding dehydration is key. How do you do that? Well, I recommend, as a rule of thumb, you drink about 3 liters of water outside of your Jiu-Jitsu training. If you want to take your hydration status that one step further, you can implement what's known as a Rehydration Protocol. Now, this particular protocol I got off the Combat Dietitian. If you want to check him out, I'll put the link to his social media in the description below and on the screen now. So, a rehydration protocol that the Combat Dietitian recommends is that you weigh yourself before and after training. The difference between your weight will be your fluid loss. For example, if I start training at 80 kilos and I weigh myself after training and I weigh 78 kilos, my fluid loss would equate to 2 kilos, or in fluid terms, that is 2 liters of fluid lost. What you do is you take that number and you multiply it by 125%, or as a decimal, that is 1.25. So 2 times 1.25 is 2.5. Therefore, you are then required to drink 2.5 liters over the next 3 to 4 hours. So effectively, you're just taking 125% of your total fluid loss. To determine your fluid loss, you weigh yourself before and after training. And that is a very standard rehydration protocol. And finally, the most common jiu-jitsu nutrition mistake, number 5, is over-relying on supplements. The theme of people over-relying on supplements was reoccurring throughout this list, but it deserved its own point just to nail it home. Sporting practitioners out there like yourself have a tendency to over-rely on supplements. The reasons are pretty clear. It's a lot easier to buy a bottle of this or a powder of that rather than implementing a strong nutritional foundation. However, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's not going to be that effective. Supplements are designed to do exactly that. Supplement your nutrition plan or supplement your current diet to make sure that if you're maybe missing out on the 1%ers, just to top it off to improve your performance just that little bit. However, if your nutrition is fundamentally shithouse, they're not gonna do anything for you. Focus on your nutrition first, and then supplements come much later once you have a strong foundation. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't supplement. All I'm saying is focus on the big ticket items first, on the things that may seem more difficult or may seem like a longer undertaking, rather than going to your local supplement store and buying everything you can get your hands on. However, if you do have a strong nutritional foundation, or you plan to tackle your nutrition alongside your supplementation, which is perfectly fine if you do them both in tandem, then I highly recommend checking out my Jiu-Jitsu supplement guide. I'll put a link to that video in the description and on the screen for you now. So those are the 5 most common mistakes that I see Jiu-Jitsu practitioners making. If you got something out of this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. New videos just like this every week. Thanks for watching.